The first light is not light at all. It is a whisper. A suggestion of gold along the eastern horizon, so faint that only those who have lived their entire lives in this emptiness would notice it. I notice it. My eyes open in the darkness of our underground shelter, and I know without looking that the day has begun. Beside me, Soraya breathes softly. Her face is peaceful in the darkness, and for a moment, I allow myself to simply watch her. After all these years, I still find wonder in her presence. The way her chest rises and falls, the way her hand rests near mine, not quite touching, but close enough that I can feel her warmth. In the desert, warmth is usually the enemy, but her warmth is different. Her warmth is life. I rise slowly, careful not to disturb her. The packed earth walls of our shelter hold the coolness of the night, and I savor it. I know what waits above. I know what the sun will become in just a few hours. But for now, in this moment, the world is gentle. The shelter took us 3 weeks to dig. 3 weeks of cracked hands and aching backs, of sand in our eyes and desperation in our hearts. But it was worth every moment of suffering. Down here, 6 feet below the surface, the temperature stays bearable. Down here, we can sleep. Down here, we can dream. I pull on my clothes in the darkness. The fabric is worn thin from years of use, but it still serves its purpose. Loose pants that allow the air to move. A long shirt that covers my arms from the sun. Everything is earth-colored, browns and beiges that blend with the sand. In the desert, you do not want to stand out. You want to disappear into the landscape, to become part of it, rather than fighting against it. My leather vest hangs from a peg carved into the wall. I slip it on, feeling its familiar weight settle across my shoulders. My father wore a vest like this, his father before him. There is comfort in tradition, in doing what generations have done before you. It connects you to something larger than yourself. Soraya stirs. I hear the change in her breathing, the small sound she makes when she transitions from sleep to wakefulness. I wait, knowing she will speak when she is ready. We have learned the value of silence, she and I. Words are precious in the desert. You do not waste them on unnecessary things. She sits up, and even in the darkness, I can see the outline of her form. She stretches, her arms reaching toward the low ceiling of our shelter. A small groan escapes her lips, the sound of muscles awakening, of a body preparing itself for another day of labor. We move through our morning preparations in practiced harmony. She reaches for her headscarf while I gather the water skins. She rolls up our sleeping mats while I check the condition of our tools. No words are needed. We have done this 1,000 times before. Our movements are choreographed by years of repetition, a dance that only we know the steps to. The ladder leading up to the surface is made of rough wood, salvaged from dead trees we found in a distant wadi years ago. Each rung is worn smooth from our hands, polished by use. I climb first, pushing aside the woven cover that shields the entrance from blowing sand. The world above is transformed. The sky is the color of pale honey, soft and luminous. The sand stretches out in every direction, an ocean of gold and amber and rose. The air is still cool against my face, though I can already feel the promise of heat lurking beneath its surface. A false gentleness, a temporary mercy. 125 degrees. That is what the day will bring. I have lived through enough summers to know this without any instrument to measure it. The way the air tastes, the way the horizon shimmers even now, hours before the true heat arrives. The way my skin already anticipates the assault that is coming. Soraya emerges behind me, and together we stand for a moment, looking out at the emptiness that is our home. The dunes roll away like frozen waves, their crests catching the early light. In the distance, I can see the dark shapes of our goats, huddled together in the stone enclosure we built for them. They are awake, waiting, They know the routine as well as we do. The Tagelmust, the turban, the veil. This is the first true ritual of the morning, and it is not one to be rushed. I watch as Soraya begins the process, her fingers moving with practiced grace. The fabric is long, nearly 15 feet of indigo cloth that she winds around her head in a specific pattern. First, the base, wrapped tight around her skull to absorb the sweat that will come. Then the layers, built up to create insulation against the sun. Finally, the tail, arranged so that it can be pulled across her face when the wind carries sand or when the heat becomes unbearable. She does this every morning, and every morning I am struck by the beauty of it. The transformation from the woman I know in the darkness of our shelter to the figure who can survive what waits above. The Tagelmust is armor. It is protection. It is identity. I wrap my own turban with less grace but equal care. Brown fabric, not indigo like hers, but serving the same purpose. I pull it tight, feeling it press against my forehead, feeling it shield the back of my neck from the sun that will soon try to kill us. The goats call out when they see us approaching. Their voices are rough and demanding. The sound of animals who know that their survival depends on us. 43 goats. We count them every morning and every evening, because in the desert, a single lost animal can mean the difference between surviving the season and not. Soraya goes to them first. She has a connection with the herd that I have never quite understood. The way they calm when she approaches. The way they follow her without the need for pushing or shouting. She speaks to them in low murmurs, sounds that are not quite words, but that the animals seem to understand. Her hands move along their backs, checking for injuries, for signs of illness. This is her domain, and I do not interfere. The well is my responsibility. It sits 50 meters from our shelter, a hole in the earth that took us an entire dry season to dig. 23 feet deep. 23 feet of rock and sand and clay, carved out with nothing but hand tools and determination. At the bottom, if God is merciful, there is water. The rope is coarse against my palms as I lower the leather bucket. I feel it descend, counting the knots I tied at intervals to mark the depth. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the 5th knot, I feel the resistance change. The bucket has reached the water. I wait, allowing it to fill. This is a moment I never rush. The bucket sinking into the darkness, the weight of it increasing as it drinks from the earth. There is something sacred about this, something that connects me to every human who has ever pulled water from a well. My ancestors did this, their ancestors before them, and now I do it, in the same way, with the same hope. The pull begins, my shoulders strain, my arms burn. The rope bites into my hands despite the calluses that years of this work have built. But I do not stop. I cannot stop. Water is everything. Water is life itself, liquid and precious and irreplaceable. The bucket emerges from the darkness, and I see it. Brown water, murky with sediment, clouded with minerals, but water nonetheless. I pour it carefully into the clay trough we built beside the well, watching as the liquid catches the early light. It is not clean, it is not pure, but it is ours. Soraya appears beside me. She has brought the filtration cloths, woven from fibers she collected and prepared herself. This is her technique, her knowledge. She learned it from her grandmother, who learned it from hers. A chain of wisdom, stretching back through generations of desert women who understood that survival requires more than strength. It requires craft. She layers the cloths over a second container, creating a series of barriers that will catch the sediment, the sand, the impurities that could make us sick. Then she pours the water slowly, allowing it to seep through each layer. What emerges on the other side is not perfect, but it is better, cleaner, safer. I return to the well, lower the bucket again. pull it up again. My muscles remember the motion even when my mind wanders. This is meditation in the desert. This is prayer. The repetitive action that allows thought to flow free while the body works. 7 buckets. That is what we need each morning. 7 buckets to fill the trough for the goats, to fill our water skins for the day, to have enough for cooking and cleaning, and the 1,000 small uses that water serves. 7 buckets, each one pulled from 23 feet below the surface, each one a small victory against the desert that wants us dead. By the time I finish, the sun has fully risen. It hangs above the eastern dunes like an angry eye, orange and swollen and terrible. The temperature is climbing now. I can feel it on my exposed skin, the places where my clothing does not reach. The air itself seems to thicken, to become harder to breathe. This is the transformation. This is the moment when the desert stops pretending to be gentle and shows its true nature. The goats must eat now, or they will not eat at all. Soraya understands this without me saying it. She is already moving toward the herd, her staff in hand, her posture radiating calm authority. The goats follow her, not because she forces them, but because they trust her, because they know that she will lead them to food, to survival. I walk beside her, but slightly behind. This is her domain. She knows where the vegetation is, where the tough desert shrubs have managed to find enough moisture to stay green. Her eyes scan the landscape in ways mine cannot, reading signs I have never learned to see. A slight change in the color of the sand, a pattern in the way the dunes are shaped, things that tell her water is near, and where water is near, plants will grow. We find them in a shallow depression between 2 dunes, acacia bushes, their branches twisted and thorny, their leaves small and tough. Not much to look at, but to our goats, this is a feast. The animals spread out among the bushes, their mouths working quickly. They know, as we do, that time is limited. The sun is climbing higher with every passing minute. Soon it will be too hot to move, too hot to eat, too hot to do anything but find shade and wait. I watch Soraya as she watches the goats. Her eyes move constantly, tracking each animal, making sure none wanders too far, none gets into trouble. There is a maternal quality to her attention, a protective instinct that extends beyond our species to the creatures in our care. Without these goats, we would not survive. She knows this. She honors it with her vigilance. The heat is becoming oppressive now. I can feel sweat forming beneath my turban, running down the back of my neck. My clothing, which felt comfortable in the cool morning, now clings to my body. Each breath feels like I am inhaling fire. This is what 125 degrees feels like. This is what survival feels like in the heart of the Sahara. Soraya signals with her staff. A single motion, a gesture we have used for decades. It means time to go, time to seek shelter before the sun reaches its full fury. The goats resist at first. They are not finished eating. Their hunger argues against their instincts. But Soraya is patient. She moves among them, guiding them gently but firmly toward the direction of safety. One by one, they fall into line. One by one, they accept her leadership. The cave is a gift from the desert. We found it 3 years ago, during a season so brutal that I thought we would not survive. We had wandered far from our usual territory, desperate for any shade, any relief from the endless assault of the sun. And then we saw it. A dark opening in the side of a rocky outcrop, a mouth leading into coolness. It is not large. It cannot hold all 43 goats comfortably, but we have made modifications over the years, built stone walls to extend the sheltered area, constructed a roof of clay and brush that provides additional shade, created a space where our entire herd can rest during the killing hours of midday. The temperature inside the cave is at least 30 degrees cooler than outside. I feel it immediately when I step through the entrance. The relief is almost painful, the sudden absence of that crushing heat. My body does not know how to respond at first. It has been bracing itself against the assault, and now the assault is gone. The goats file in behind us, their bodies pressing together in the confined space. They are panting, their sides heaving. But they are alive. They are safe. They will rest here until the afternoon, until the sun begins its descent and the world becomes survivable again. Soraya has already begun preparing our midday meal. It is not much. It cannot be much. Cooking requires fire, and fire requires heat. And we have more than enough heat already. So our meal is simple. Dried dates, stored from a trip to the distant market months ago. Hard bread, baked days earlier and preserved by the dry air. A small portion of dried meat, tough and salty, but full of the nutrients we need. She arranges it on a worn cloth, spreading it between us like an offering. We sit facing each other, our backs against the cool stone walls of the cave. The goats shift and settle around us, their presence a comfort rather than an intrusion. We are all in this together, all of us seeking shelter from the same enemy. I eat slowly, savoring each bite. In the desert, you learn not to rush through meals. Food is too precious, too hard-won to be consumed without appreciation. I taste the sweetness of the dates, the earthiness of the bread, the sharp salt of the meat. Each flavor is a reminder that we are alive, that we have survived another morning. Soraya eats even more slowly than I do. She has always been like this, deliberate in everything, patient beyond what seems possible. I used to find it frustrating in the early years of our marriage. I wanted to move faster, to accomplish more, to force the world to bend to my will. But she taught me, not with words, but with example. She taught me that the desert cannot be rushed, that survival requires patience above all else. The hours pass. We do not speak much during this time. There is no need. The silence between us is comfortable, filled with the sounds of the goats breathing, the occasional drip of water from somewhere deep in the cave, the distant whisper of wind across the entrance. These are the sounds of life in the desert. This is the music we have learned to love. I think about the morning, about the well and the water and the goats eating among the acacia bushes, about Soraya's hands winding the tagelmust around her head, about the sun rising over the dunes like a declaration of war. These are the moments that make up our existence. Small things, repetitive things, but they are ours. Soraya's head begins to nod. Sleep is claiming her, as it always does during these hot hours. I watch her surrender to it, her body relaxing against the stone, her breathing deepening. She looks peaceful. She looks young somehow, despite the lines that years of sun and wind have carved into her face. I see the woman I married all those decades ago. I see the woman who chose this life with me. I do not sleep, not yet. Instead, I watch the entrance of the cave, where the sunlight blazes white and terrible. Out there, the world is an oven. Out there, nothing moves except the heat itself, rising in waves from the burning sand. But in here, we are safe. In here, we wait. The goats have arranged themselves in a rough circle, their bodies providing warmth for each other, despite the fact that warmth is the last thing anyone needs. It is instinct. The same instinct that drives them to huddle together during cold desert nights. They do not understand that the rules are different now. They only know that togetherness means survival. There is a kid at the edge of the group, born just 3 weeks ago, small and brown and full of that energy that young things have, that refusal to accept limitations. Even now, in the heat of midday, it tries to play, jumping on the backs of the older goats, butting its head against its mother's side, demanding attention in the way that youth always demands attention. Soraya would know its name if she were awake. She names all of them, every goat we have ever owned. She says it is important to know who they are, not just what they are. She says that names create connection, and connection creates care, and care creates survival. I have never been able to argue with her logic. The afternoon wears on. The light at the cave entrance changes, shifting from white to gold to amber. The heat begins to loosen its grip, degree by degree. I can feel it in the air, the subtle relaxation of pressure. The day is not over. The sun is still dangerous. But the worst has passed. Soraya wakes without alarm, her eyes opening smoothly as if she had never been asleep. She looks at me, and I see the question in her gaze. I nod. Soon. We can leave soon. The goats sense the change as well. They begin to stir, to stand, to shake off the lethargy of the hot hours. Their hunger has returned, and with it, their impatience. They want to eat. They want to move. They have been still for too long. We emerge from the cave into a world transformed. The sun hangs low in the western sky, swollen and orange, no longer the deadly enemy of midday, but something almost beautiful. The sand has changed color too, shifting from harsh white to soft rose, to deep amber, to purple in the shadows between the dunes. This is the magic hour. This is when the desert shows its other face. The goats spread out immediately, returning to the acacia bushes they were forced to abandon hours earlier. They eat with renewed enthusiasm, making up for lost time. Soraya moves among them again, her staff tapping the ground in a rhythm that the animals seem to understand. I follow, but my attention is elsewhere. The sky. It is on fire. Not with the deadly heat of day, but with color. Oranges and pinks and purples that bleed into each other, that shift and change with every passing minute. I have seen 1,000 desert sunsets, and each one still stops me. Each one still reminds me that there is beauty here, even in this place that tries so hard to kill us. Soraya notices that I have stopped. She turns, sees where my gaze is directed, and for a moment she stops too. We stand there together, two small figures in an immense landscape, watching the sky burn. No words are needed. None could capture what we are seeing. This is beyond language. This is the desert speaking directly to our souls, reminding us why we stay, why we endure, why we love this brutal, beautiful place. The light fades. Stars begin to appear, faint at first, then brighter, as the sky deepens from purple to black. The temperature is dropping rapidly now, the same sand that held the killing heat now releasing it into the atmosphere. Within a few hours, it will be cold. Within a few hours, we will need the warmth of our shelter, our blankets, each other. But first, there is one more task. The evening count. 43 goats, each one accounted for, each one healthy, each one safe. Soraya moves through the herd with her lantern, its small flame casting dancing shadows on the sand. She touches each animal as she passes, her hand running along their backs, confirming their presence. I count silently as she works. 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. Relief floods through me, as it does every evening. We have not lost any. The desert has not taken any of them today. This is victory. This is success. In the Sahara, survival itself is the greatest achievement. We guide the herd back to their enclosure, the stone walls we built to protect them from predators during the night. They go willingly, tired from the day, ready for rest. The gate closes behind them with a sound that I find deeply satisfying. A sound of security, a sound of completion. The fire is next. Soraya gathers the dried brush we collected days ago, arranging it in the pit we dug beside our shelter. Her movements are efficient, practiced, beautiful in their economy. She has done this thousands of times. Her hands know what to do without her mind needing to direct them. I bring the flint and steel. These tools have been in my family for generations, passed from father to son, worn smooth by countless hands. I strike them together, watching the sparks fly, watching them catch on the dried tinder that Soraya has prepared. A flame blooms, small at first, then growing as she feeds it carefully, building it into something that will warm us through the night. We sit beside the fire, our shoulders almost touching. The goats are quiet in their enclosure. The stars blaze overhead in their millions, so bright and clear that they seem close enough to touch. The heat of the day is a memory now, replaced by the gentle coolness of the desert night. Soraya prepares tea. This is her ritual, her art. The careful measuring of the leaves, the precise amount of water, the specific way she holds the pot over the flames, never too close, never too far. I have watched her do this countless times, and I still do not fully understand her method. But I understand the results. The tea she makes is perfect, always. She pours it into small glasses, the liquid amber in the firelight. I take mine carefully, feeling its warmth against my palms. The first sip is always the best. Hot and sweet and slightly bitter, flavors that dance on my tongue and remind me of all the evenings that came before this one. The fire crackles. The stars wheel overhead. Soraya sits beside me, her glass cradled in her hands, her eyes reflecting the flames. This is peace. This is contentment. This is what we work for, what we suffer for, what we survive for. These quiet moments at the end of the day, when the world is gentle and we are together. I think about the morning that awaits us, the same routine, the same challenges, the same brutal sun that will rise and try once again to defeat us. But that is tomorrow. That is not now. Now there is only the fire and the stars and the woman beside me and the knowledge that we have made it through another day. The desert is not cruel. I understood this long ago. It does not hate us. It does not wish us harm. It simply is what it is. Vast and hot and unforgiving, yes. But also beautiful, also honest, also home. We have learned its rhythms. We have adapted to its demands. We rise before the sun and hide from its fury, and emerge again when it relents. We pull water from deep in the earth and guide our animals to the food they need, and count our blessings with every goat that survives. This is our life. This is our purpose. Soraya finishes her tea and sets the glass aside. She leans against me, her weight warm and familiar. I put my arm around her, feeling her relax into my embrace. The fire has burned down to embers now, glowing orange in the darkness. Soon we will go below, to our shelter, to sleep and dream and prepare for another day. But not yet. Not quite yet. For now we sit together under the stars, two people who have faced the worst the desert can offer and emerged still standing, still loving, still alive. This is what survival looks like. Not dramatic battles or heroic struggles, just the quiet, daily work of existing in a place that does not want you to exist. Just the small victories that accumulate over days and months and years until they become a life. The tea is finished. The fire is dying. The night is deep and cold and full of stars. Tomorrow, we will do it all again. Tomorrow, the sun will rise and the heat will build, and we will pull water from the well and guide our goats to food and hide from the fury of midday and emerge again in the gentle hours of evening. But tonight, there is only this. Only the two of us, and the embers, and the silence, and the stars. Tonight, we are home.